So normally what we do is we welcome everybody in and we just sort of chill out while everyone streams into the room. Um, it's sort of like you open the doors for an event and
Yep.
everyone walks in.
Yep.
Um, I interviewed Michael Connolly once, and
Oh yeah.
that was live, and you should have seen the people stream in. It was like a circus.
Yeah, yeah. He was.
It-
I once met a teacher of his, someone who taught him philosophy. Said he was awesome. Yeah,
oh, really?
yeah, yeah. He was a star philosophy student back in the day, apparently.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
see, I wish I'd known that when I interviewed him. That would have been any little thing like that, to
Yeah.
set up the interview. Welcome to Ben's Book Club, or as I like to call it, the much superior BBC. Um, we normally, as we enter, for people who are new here, we just type where we're from, because I think one of the best things we do with this book club is we're a small community, but we're a very broad community. And hopefully it'll make Riley really happy to just see everyone from all around um, Australia and the world reading her book. Can you see in the chat there, everyone
Yeah,
saying hi?
absolutely. Yeah. Hi,
Yeah.
everyone.
Hornsby. Hello, everyone from Thurgoona. Is that Christine? Where's I don't know where that is. Sorry, I'm still a novice with New South Wales. We just came back from Tenterfield camping, which was lovely. Kingscliff. Hi from Tassie. All the way up in Townsville. Hi from Taiwan.
Wow.
Oh, Nicole. Well done. I think you've just about got the award for furthest tuning in at the moment. Gippsland, Victoria represent. Yes, my home. I love Gippsland. I miss Gippsland with its rolling green hills.
Yeah.
Northern Beaches, Adelaide. And this is also a good comment too, guys. You can put this comment in the chat as well from Jen. Hi from Melbourne. Loved the book. Any any love at all for the book?
Yeah.
Yes,
Much welcome. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. My mum is here too, everybody. Carol
Hi,
Hobson from,
Mom.
yeah, my mum's here. Randy's from New York. Randy's a very avid fan, and he always comes in from New York. And he sometimes struggles to get books, so I have to give him lists way in advance so he can actually source
Mm.
books. Is this one going to America, or is it already there?
No, not
Or
yet. No, no, no. Just Australia and New Zealand distribution at the moment.
at the moment, though, because Riley's also going to, or Randy, sorry, is going to send out all of the good vibes in America and spread the
Thanks,
word.
Randy.
Yep. Hi, Ben's mum. Yep. She loves it. Um, thanks, Gemma. That's really kind of you as well. But let's get started. We're here to talk to Riley. Apologies too that we were a little late with starting, everybody. Appreciate your patience with all that, with how Zoom goes sometimes. But let's introduce Riley and the book we'll be talking about today. So, Riley James, feel free to butt in too. Do you like when I read your bio out? Do you enjoy this process?
I can't remember, so it's all very fresh and new. Tell me what
Oh,
I
cool. All
do.
right. Well, Riley James lives in Melbourne, Australia, with her partner and two children.
Still true.
Still true. She was born and raised in northwest Tasmania. By the way, Tasmania, what an absolute embarrassment of good writing in from Tasmania.
Oh,
Ridiculous, right? How
the word
many?
embarrassment belied what you said, but yes.
Sorry about that. Oh, it's just so many authors I know are from Tasmania.
Sure.
Some of my favorite authors.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
has,
Me too.
yeah, and has been writing since the age of 6. That's incredible. We might get you to read from your books that you were writing when you were 6 today, if that's okay. Oh, it
I
is.
feel good for that. It was actually meant to be a joke. No, I think my jokes fall flat. I should stop. I should stop putting jokes in bios.
Oh
All
no.
I did was that I learned to write when I was 6.
Oh,
That's all it meant. No
oh, I
books.
see. I see. Yeah, that's a good gag. No, it's
Uh,
good. That's my bad. I
it
didn't get
fell
it.
flat.
Yeah, no, no,
No,
it's on
no.
me. She trained briefly as a journalist before completing a PhD and becoming an academic, which I am currently going through, and I have my hats off
Oh,
to you because that's very hard.
mm.
And this is your very first book or first novel, right? This is
My first
exciting.
novel. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really exciting to talk to you, and I love spreading the word about really quality Australian writing. To it's can be quite hard to stand out in the big sea of so many good authors. So very happy to do that for especially for this.
Oh,
Now,
thank
as you
you.
can see, I wore my summer shirt because I thought I'd sort of juxtapose the setting a little bit. Yep. But I did bring my Tasmanian whiskey to keep me warm. And Tasmania, I thought was about, as close as I can get to the cold. So, and plus you're from Tasmania, so, represent the lark. Um, but can we talk about this book with us? Where did this start, this whole idea for this book, or even just writing as something that you wanted to pursue, something that you wanted to do?
Sure. Well, writing is something I've wanted to do. I mean, I have wanted to do it for a very long time. I mean, I said I was a journalist. I was just a cadet journalist for a couple of years, and but great training. And then I went on and did a Bachelor of Arts where I majored in English literature. So I've always loved fiction. I've always loved writing. When I was a child, I read Sweet Dreams romances and Stephen King and
Mm.
Agatha Christie and Trixie Belden. So this book is kind of like a mush of all of that, you know.
Wow, I can
Sweet
actually see
Dreams,
that. Yeah.
yeah, Trixie Belden and
Even
Stephen
the Steve,
King.
yeah, I can see the Stephen King. That's really
Oh,
remarkable.
great! I'm so
Yeah.
glad. I mean, is kind of a the Chilling is a it's a homage to Stephen King's The Shining in a way, that title. So those were my interests when I was younger, and I've always loved writing, as I said. So whether it was going to be a career in journalism or academia or as a student,
Hmm.
I've always been writing. But I guess I've published a few academic books, and the fact is, no one really reads my academic book, or at least a few people read them, and maybe a couple of years later they comment about them, and but
Yeah.
no one kind of reads them for escapism and pleasure. And so that's where the writing of this book sprung from, the desire to write something escapist and pleasurable. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, but the main sort of idea with you is you love the world of words and meaning and sentences, and you just wanted to be in that world somehow, but it took you a little bit to sort of go, okay, I'm going to have a crack at fiction writing. Is that sort of the idea?
I guess I did write fiction, and I've probably been writing it for 20 years. But I
Wow.
guess I had to find my feet first. Like, I had to get a day job because
Yeah,
being an
yeah.
author, as you know, is not necessarily
Preach. Oh,
very
I got you.
very stable or secure livelihood. So I became an academic, I think, because I love academia, but also this is something where you can earn a salary,
Yeah.
and then I became part-time after I had children, and that gave me more time to actually write fiction. So that's when this particular novel took off. And the inspiration here again was horror again.
Yeah.
Not that it's a horror book itself, but the inspiration was actually John Carpenter's film The Thing.
I was going to
And
talk to you about that because I
yeah,
saw you.
oh, well, I won't preempt anything there,
No,
but
no. I would love to because that's also where my knowledge of like gripping, Antarctic kind of
yeah,
those icy thrillers, that's all my knowledge as well is the thing. Um, yeah, and I thought you evoked those sort of that flurry of snow and that darkness and that isolation. Um, were those sort of the elements of the thing that you wanted to bring through in there, and not so much the body horror, I guess, although you have a little bit of that.
yeah, I do have a little bit of body horror, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, looking back on the thing, so most viewers, most people probably remember or have seen the thing, the film. It's very schlocky. It's a schlocky horror film about a
Mm,
group of scientists in Antarctica who discover the remains of an alien. They bring it back to base, and it thaws out, and of course, it's still alive, and it starts imitating everybody and perfectly absorbing and assimilating everybody. And of course, there's some wonderful occasions where, like, I don't know, for um, jaws to emerge from people's chests, and there's a lot of wonderful special
amazing.
effects in it.
It's an amazing movie.
But the thing that stood the test of time is the dread and paranoia and suspense and just the complete mistrust between the expeditioners.
Mm.
They don't know if their best friend has or is the thing, basically, because this thing is so good at imitating them.
And the
So they
people
do.
who are the people who are also the thing don't even know themselves that they're alien. They think they're human beings because it mimics them so well.
And that could be true. I don't know until they start sort of like attacking
Yeah,
and blowing up the
until they get
base.
found
And
out, and
I
then the
think
thing
then
goes.
they know.
If you haven't seen the thing, it's not for the squeamish, and
No,
it is it is amazing. It's probably I don't know up there top 10 for me. The thing, I just
absolutely. And for me
perfect.
too. So what I wanted to do with this book was kind of replicate the paranoia and the mistrust. And so that I think is just sort of like a timeless kind of human theme
Yeah.
that I don't explore terribly deeply, but it's nevertheless there in the
No, I
book.
think I don't sell yourself short on that. I think you did a great job because I think because the thing is such a like you say, it's schlocky, it's
Yeah.
fantastical, it's not based in reality, it's got those metaphors. But you do, and I'm sorry, I've fast forwarded past a bunch of stuff I was supposed to say at the stuff, but this is fine. I'll get back to that. You do a remarkable job, I think, of really making me start to trust someone, and then I go, oh, hang on, no, I don't. Oh, no, I
Mm.
kind of like, no, wait, no, I don't. Oh, but he did this. Oh, but I thought your stuff, that particular line was really fun in this book.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the kind of suspense I wanted to keep going, at least for a while, especially with the Nick character. Like,
Yes.
so they discover this man in a ship that is trapped in the ice and is caught on fire. He's the only survivor. The rest of the crew is missing. Can we trust him? Is he a good person, or is he in fact
Mm.
the one who's responsible for the disaster?
Mm.
So I wanted to keep that going for a while, at least into the final third of the book.
Yeah, yeah, and you did. Yeah, that was one of my favorite things about it. Um, just to go back a little bit, I'm sorry about this. I forgot to mention this. We actually, for those of you who aren't used to our Ben's Book Club, the way we work is we do absolutely encourage everybody in the audience to actually send through questions for Riley. I just think this is a really cool place where you guys can really have access to an author and you can sort of see how the sausage is made. And I don't think that wrecks the magic for a book. I think it actually starts to make it feel more human and more interesting to me. Um, but what we do is we actually give away, and Riley, I'm sorry to put you on the spot with this, we actually give away a copy of the book. And so, what I'm wanting you, Riley, to do and everyone in chat is to send through your very best questions. All right. And the best question that we'll read out, Riley will look for questions at the end. She'll find the one that just lights her up, something that's really interesting. You could just compliment her for a paragraph. I'm sure that would go down, go down really well. Yep. Um, but yeah, so any interesting question, and then that lucky winner will organize something, but we'll send you a copy of this book, um, which you can see is awesome. Looks awesome on a shelf. Um, by the way, how exciting is it when you get the cover for your first book?
Yeah, I was super pleased with that cover. It's just so Scandi noir, and it was totally what I was going for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
super
really is.
pleased.
And that I love that how small that it's like a snow. Oh, is that a
It's
torch?
a,
That's
it's a
a
torch. It's a torch.
yeah. Yeah, and it's so eerie. I love it. It's
Yeah,
got that
great.
Stephen King vibe on the front. But we've got some questions. Let's go through and have a look. Um, there was one up here. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing names, by the way. I do my best, but is it Jeet or yep? Great first novel. Very much enjoyed reading it. Can't ask for more than that. That's awesome feedback.
Thank you.
Gemma asks this, was the Tassie winter any kind of inspiration for the freezing location of the novel? But I guess too, like that feeling of isolation cold can give you. But gosh, yes, it was.
Well, being in Tasmania is the coldest I've ever been, and you got to wonder if it's kind of even colder than Antarctica because um, I don't know. I just remember winters in Hobart as a student and seeing my fingers turn purple, like as I was studying, because couldn't really afford to keep the heater on the whole time, and of course the house wasn't really well set up for it. But I guess it was. But but then afterwards, I went to Finland in the winter, and I realized I had no idea what cold was. So I'm not so sure. To tell you the truth, I cheated a lot because I haven't been to Antarctica. I noticed some of the questions in the chat was saying, when did you go there and what did you do while you're there? And it's like, actually, no, I cheated. I read a lot of early 20th century polar exploration tales, tales of Shackleton and
Mm.
Scott and others. And they tell you how cold it was. It's a funny thing. They were very, very hard men. They were going down to Antarctica without Gore-Tex or even
Yeah.
any kind of high-tech tent or equipment or anything like that. But they could all write like poets, and so which is just astonishing. And so to read their diaries and to read them talk about being caught in the cold embrace of the snow and so on. It was kind of gave you an insight into just how utterly freezing they were. So I cheated a bit, but thanks for asking about Tasmanian winter. That is pretty much the coldest I've ever been.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you are setting out on this journey to write a novel and you're still sort of not, you haven't pitched it, you don't have an agent, you don't have a publishing deal, spending 30 grand on a trip to Antarctica is a lot to pull, isn't it?
You'd at least want to have a writers in residence kind of gig while you were there, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Man, we should start something like that, like one of those Antarctic cruises, and then figure out a way to make it like a writers' festival somehow.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I don't really want to go there.
Don't really? I do. I would. We watch. My family and I watch a YouTube travel show, and they had this wonderful series where they went down there and they actually camped out on the ice in little tents with sleeping bags, and they did a polar plunge. And ever since then, my whole family, it's one of our top things that we want to do.
Ah,
It's just so cost prohibitive, but you have
yeah.
no desire at all to go down.
I might go to one of the islands, like one of the islands that was figured in the tariffs, that Trump stuck a tariff on, like Heard
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Island or Matsaka Island, somewhere like that, somewhere not quite that far south.
What if they gave you like they just one of the cruisers found this book and they're like, this is the best thing ever. We're gonna get her on this ship. We'll talk about the book. You wouldn't say no, surely.
I might not, because the funny thing is that a doctor who works down in Antarctica got in touch with me after the book was out and said, "We're reading your book here. We're reading it with glee." I wrote back and I said, "Oh, glee wasn't really the emotion I was going for. It's meant to be more like dread and suspense." But then I put a bit at the end of my message saying, "Oh, but if you want to have a chat with me, if you
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
talk about the book, I would love to talk to you." I did, in fact, get an Antarctic expeditioner to read the book afterwards so that she could catch any really big clangers, but it would
Oh, that's
still be
clever.
really, yeah, it was really nice of her to do it for me as well.
Did she
Um,
catch anything, like anything big that you remember that you fixed up? Were there any good notes?
Yeah, the one thing, she had quite a few things, but the one thing I remember is that I kept talking about how silent it was in Antarctica. So silent. There's no cars and there's no birds, and
Yeah, that
and
makes sense.
she said that's a big joke because the whole time you're there, the hum and the thrum of the generators drives you nuts. And one thing that you kind of appreciate when you leave is that you don't hear those generators buzzing 24 hours a day. So
Yeah.
that was a great pickup there.
Yeah, that's really wow. Well, good on you. I mean, that's a really smart idea to actually send it to her though, right? Because I mean, that's yeah.
I guess it was just to prevent embarrassment, yeah,
Yeah,
in my
well,
case.
you don't know what you don't know, and it's
Exactly.
I did the same thing with my first book, which is set over on Morton Island. I didn't go because of the money, and it was
Oh
just
yeah.
yeah, and
Where is Morton Island?
it's just off the coast of like Redcliffe, um, sort of north suburbs of Brisbane area and
Is it near
Sunshine
North
Coast.
Stradbroke Island? Is it?
I think it's good geez. I come from Gippsland. I don't know this precisely. Someone from
I won't push
Chat,
you any
help me,
further. I
please.
think I've flown over it. That's all. That's why I'm asking.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Yeah.
It had a whaling station on it anyway. But yeah, I actually sent it to a guy who was there in the 60s when the whaling station was operational. And he was the same. He picked up all these notes and
Nice.
it made me feel more secure in it too. Like I was confident. I was like, this is actually going to be a book that, because I could point to him,
Yeah. Yeah.
even though I wouldn't, but I could. Um, Tara's got a great question here. The development of the setting and the isolation was written so well. How did you accomplish this to be able to make the reader feel like they were immersed into the Antarctic chill from, and she's asked from lived experience, but we sort of know now that you didn't go down there. But how did you like practically go about on a word and sentence level describing setting? Like, what were some of the key things you're remembering to put in the page to
Yeah.
capture and evoke that idea?
Well, I had some great blog posts. Some really talented journalists had gone down there and done day by day thing. One of them, I mentioned them at the end of the book. One of them was Ingrid on the Ice, about a doctor who actually worked at, I think it was at Mawson Station, and my station, of course, is roughly based on Mawson.
Mm.
So she went down and just told you what happened every day. Who was doing slushy duty, when you could get leave to go out and visit the is it Rumdoodle, the hut out there, and that was truly wonderful, beautiful detail. So I felt like I was living there, reading that, and of course on the boat, the icebreaker, a wonderful journalist, Karen Barlow, wrote a day by day blog as well of what it was like living on the Aurora
Oh,
Australis.
that's such a good
So I
resource.
had, yeah, these were immersive kind of blog posts. So they were super helpful. And in addition to that, I had stayed at a place where they had an old INAIR manual, like an old Australian Antarctic Division manual for people that were going down there. So I had that to sort of give me an idea of what the rules and regulations were. There's also a webcam. So you can tune in on a webcam at Mawson and just see what it's like. I'd also read accounts of being in blizzards and what it's like to be lost in a blizzard. And of course, I'd read Shackleton. And
Mm.
Shackleton, I had read about the Endurance voyage, which, if you know your early heroic period of Antarctic exploration, you know that Shackleton took 28 men to Antarctica in a boat in 1914. The boat got trapped in the ice. They had to abandon the boat, the Endurance, when it crushed up. It was recently found at the bottom of the
Oh,
ocean.
wow.
Yeah, and they spent 5 months out on the ice just trying to survive. And Shackleton brought back every single one of the men on that trip. So he is an extraordinary figure. And reading all the different accounts of the men, many men took notes, wrote diaries, and so on. And later they were collated together into books and into quite perhaps the most famous book is Alfred Lansing's Endurance. So I'm sorry, was it Tara? Or Gemma? That's a
Yeah.
very, very long response to your question there, but a bit of
No.
research and an immersive kind of writing about what it was really like to be there. And then, of course, stepping away and just imagining in a kind of hypnotic way, like what it would have been like for me to be down there and doing those
Yeah.
same things.
It sounds like a lot of your academic background really did you in good stead with the quality of the resources. Like you weren't just reading one thing and going, okay, I got it. Like you really sound like you spent a lot of time thinking and feeling this, um, which is the sort of discipline you get from academic research, right? You sort of have to read all around a topic.
I think that's right. But at the same time, I think you can do too much research. I really do think it probably would have been better to maybe to have just started writing sooner. Maybe, I mean, it was really beneficial to me because I hadn't been down there, so I had to kind of do that so I didn't look like a fool. But at the same time, I don't think anyone wants to read a treatise on what it's like to be in Antarctica. They want to read a good story. So I think you have to
Yeah.
kind of strike a balance. And sometimes being an academic is probably more of a hindrance than a help. If it's about just get to the story, just tell us. Stop telling us all the different kinds of ice. We don't want to know. Just go on and tell us what's going to happen, and what the problem
Yeah.
is that everyone's going to solve. So I don't know if it was a help or a hindrance. I'm not sure.
No,
The
no, I
next,
get it.
yeah,
I wrote a thing once for the Queensland Writers Centre where I was saying that sometimes we as authors tend to feel like when we're doing research that we're bodybuilding, and then the instinct is to get up like Arnie on stage and to sort of flex, look how strong my research muscles are. But you want to be strong, but like accidentally, like your shirt
yeah,
tears a little bit, and like, oh,
yeah.
whoops, there's my muscles.
I
Not show
think
off as much.
that's right. I think you read it. I guess it's kind of like the Wordsworth quote, which I cannot remember and I'll just fudge, but it's kind of like you recollect what you've learned in tranquility. So you take it all in and your brain takes it all in, but then you put it aside and maybe come back to it after a couple of weeks, and then you've got enough that you can just go into that kind of hypnotic state. Right, I'm in Antarctica and I'm walking through a blizzard, and you don't need to bring all that research and consult your notes. You just need
Mm,
to have it in your head somehow.
in you. That's a great quote. I didn't know that. Was that Wordsworth? That's really cool. I'll have to look that
Uh,
up. Don't
Wordsworth
quote
is.
you on the.
Well, I should Google it, shouldn't I? Put recollected in tranquility
That's
in
okay. Someone in
Wordsworth.
chat will fix
Yeah,
this up
I'm
if we got it
terrible. I
right.
studied
No, that's okay.
Wordsworth like 30 years ago, so I'm not shouldn't I don't even I shouldn't even be entitled to
No, no,
quote
I
him.
like it. That's if it wasn't him, then it was you, and you should take credit because that's a very good quote. Um, we got a great question from Anita, and because this is a book club, Riley, we do actually get into spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, by the way, chat, this is something that Riley said to me before we started. Riley has actually been a part of the chat. I don't know whether this is the first time we've had a person come from the actual Ben's Book Club audience and write a novel and actually be a part of the interview process. But I think that's really cool. So who knows who of you is going to be the next Ben's Book Club guest? Um, but Anita has said this. So sorry, the reason I was saying that we do get into spoilers.
I see.
We do talk about the ending. If you haven't finished the book yet, it might be worth pausing this. This will be uploaded to YouTube later to finish up our conversation with Riley. But we do like to talk about everything with the book because it's a book club. So, but Anita asks, I would love to know about how you, and I love this phrase, how you reality tested the plot twists. Isn't that a good phrase? Deciding what goes too far or not far enough, to make those plot points land in that way where to me as a reader, I go, oh, of course. But I also didn't expect it at all. And I mean, that must be such a balance. I need to ask, do you rely on your editor or your family, or is it your own instinct or revision, or how do you go about plotting those reveals, I guess?
Yeah, yeah. Well, since we're not too concerned about spoilers here, I hope I can talk openly then. Um, there are some plot twists that were actually founded in reality. One of those was the drugs. I had someone I knew very well who was on a drug called Rivotril, which is an anti-anxiety medication,
Yeah.
and he also had a shoulder injury. And he was taking drugs for that, and they were both in the same generic bottle. And he accidentally took himself off Rivotril when he thought he had finished his anti-inflammatory pills. And he went completely, from an outsider's perspective, this uh, this person went completely insane to us. We thought we'd have to get him committed. He was crying uncontrollably. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't remember where he lived. So he went out in his car and he got lost. He couldn't remember the tsunami had happened. This was like 20 years ago. And he was watching the concert and was so upset that so many people had died. We thought he had gone completely insane. And when we went to the GP with him, the GP was, no, 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 you've taken yourself off your Rivotril, which is related to the pill in my novel, clonazepam. And so that was kind of like an inspiration point. And of course, it turns out being a plot twist because something similar happens to the crew at the station.
Mm.
I did get feedback from a family member on that. And she said, if I hadn't known that it was you and that happened to you, I would have thought that was a bit far-fetched. I'm like, oh, well, thanks. Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
Not sure I can change it right now. It was a bit late in the day. So that plot twist was founded in reality and tested by family. But unfortunately, it's still there, even though some people find it a little bit far-fetched. All I can tell you is it actually happened.
Yeah.
So there's that. Let me think. What are my plot twists?
It's a tricky
Uh,
barometer though, that idea of like it won't land for everybody. There will be always a person who's like, oh,
yeah,
like you can't please everybody with a book. Like
I
that's
think
quite a tricky thing.
it is. It's absolutely true. And so I always write for an ideal reader, yes. But generally, also, in this case, as I said before, I wanted to write something escapist and fun that people would actually want to read. And so I wrote something that I would actually want to read, and that's why there's the romance aspects as well as the
Mm.
Stephen King and crime sleuth aspects as well. But so I do occasionally meet readers, they're like, oh, I didn't really like the sex. And I'm like, that's okay. You can't argue with taste about some of these things. And similarly with plot twists, like I guess some of us are more tolerant of preposterous plot twists. I don't mind it. I think sometimes that's an aspect of a thriller. That the plot twist might seem a little bit preposterous. You don't want to put people off, obviously, but sometimes it's just what thrillers, especially
Yeah.
a certain genre, can be
Yeah.
like.
I
Mm.
think the thriller does lend itself to, some strange drug stuff, some strange,
Yeah.
I love The Thing. Like there's nothing more preposterous than that movie. So
That's where I'm coming from. So mine was quite toned down. It was based in reality. It was a kind of Scooby Doo moment where they discover what looked like an alien parasite actually turned out not to be an alien parasite at all. So not quite as preposterous as that, but yeah, other plot twists. Some editors did give me some really great advice, like. Nick was too nice to begin with. He's too nice. So they wanted me to keep the suspense going with him a lot longer, just to keep you guessing about.
is that where that scene came in, that early scene I think it was in the medical office where he gets really rough with people and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
hang on. That was where that came from?
Yeah, that's right. And he calls his wife a bitch. It's kind of like a
Yeah,
gender
that
slur,
one.
So it's like, oh, do we really like him? He's not that bad, but he's just a little bit, he's kind of a bit insensitive. And likewise, my editors were also sort of like, you can kind of tell you don't like some of these characters who turn out to be bad. She was absolutely right. You can't help it. It's like, oh, he's such an asshole, so
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
right in that way. And that
Yeah.
was really great advice too. So to answer your question, yeah, they were stress tested, and they were stress tested with some fabulous editors, some of the best editors I think in the country at Allen and Unwin. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely true. Um, we've got a long question here from Amber. I won't read every aspect of it. And guys, I'm really sorry if I'm not getting to oh, Kim, thank you. Morton Island is Stradbroke Island's neighbor. Thanks, Kim. Thank you. That's very nice. If I'm not reading your questions, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get to as many because I'm also trying to listen to Riley. But if you don't get to them, feel free to post them again. I will hopefully get to them. But Amber has said this. I don't know whether you can see it, Riley. I
Yeah, I
was.
can. I can. It's a good question.
It's a
Yeah.
great question. I was really interested in the romance aspect of the book and how that was intended to be interpreted. We see through a few characters' perspectives what an awful guy Elliot turned out to be. And then I found it interesting how Kit went from that relationship to Nick, who by all accounts wasn't a green flag. Like if she's running away from this bad relationship with this guy, she's kind of running into another like yeah beige flag neutral flag like he's not yeah
Pink flag, maybe like red, but a
yeah
bit
yeah
faded.
but then questions about what happens after the book, like do you see a future for them? Such a good question. So
Yeah, it is.
um
It is a good one. So I deliberately called him Nick Coldheart because he could be someone with a cold heart, like when you say it out loud, a cold heart, or he could be someone with the heart of a colt, like the heart of a horse. So we don't know, like, is he cold hearted? And he turns out to be the heart of a horse. Like, he turns out to be the
yeah
good guy.
yeah
But your query, Amber, is sort of like challenging that. It's like he's a liar, and he kind of wasn't, he didn't necessarily do a good thing. He abandoned that guy out in the snow. He felt bad about it, but he didn't tell anybody. And so he does have red flags, but one of the other questions in the chat was asking about the quote at the start by Justus Lipsius, a 17th century neo-Stoic, who revived Seneca, whose philosophy was that, well, Lipsius's philosophy was that we all have like a sliver of ice in the heart, and it just takes certain circumstances to show that, like to bring it out. We're all
Mm.
capable of evil. And that was kind of the lesson in some ways, the lesson of the thing, and also the lesson of my book. Not that it's a lesson, it's more of a theme, that sometimes particular circumstances can bring out bad things in otherwise good people. We just
Yeah.
never get tested. You never really
Yes.
know, there could be your work colleagues, but you never really know till you get them out there, and it's dog eat dog, and survival of the fittest. You don't know who's the one that's going to share their biscuit with you or push you down the crevice, kind of thing. And Nick, he's done things he regretted. I guess he in desperate circumstances, not just being in a hostile environment, but just being in a difficult situation with his wife and having to earn
Yeah.
money, and his only way to earn money being to go down to Antarctica and spend a long time away from her. And I guess as a writer, like I agree with you, Amber. There's red flags here, isn't there? There's quite a few red flags. What's it going to be like when they get back to civilization and he's drinking every night and going out and ignoring her or what have
Yeah.
you? But I guess it's just that, yeah, as a writer, you kind of you're just a bit more tolerant of people because you're trying to understand them as you write them. And I
Yeah.
do
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
understand him. And we're not all perfect. We lie. We don't kill people, obviously. Most of us don't kill
Most of us.
people, but we're not perfect. And so, maybe they'll go back and they have a shitty relationship with each other, but at least they kind of could rely on each other and have some warmth while they were down there. And
Yeah.
it was a happy ending for Kit in the end because she had such a bad time before then.
Yeah. Um, it's funny that you say that because I do think as writers we tend to, or at least the way I think, is I never judge my characters. And it's
Mm,
because I always feel like I am them and they're but for the grace of God. Like that's me. And if I got tested, I don't know how I'd pull up. And I hope I do this, but I could see myself, in a bad way doing this. And so at the end, I
mm.
was like, oh, yeah, Nick's all right. Like he's fine. He's just made a mistake. He seems to be responsible for it. But my wife read this book and she did not like him at the end.
Ah,
No, she was just
oh,
like, no, I don't like him. No, he's a murderer. I'm not gonna.
it was self-defense.
Yeah, I know. She's like, no, not having
Yeah,
anything to do with him.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
she loved the book. She loved the book, but that was I
like,
just
why did
love
she end
it.
up with him? Yeah.
I think readers really love looking at characters and going, do I like this person? Do I not like this person? And not liking a character doesn't make them any less readable. It's just, I just think that makes the book interesting. And again, that's what make book. I mean, in the chat, did you guys? Let's actually ask the chat. Let's see responses. Let's get the thumbs up if we're like pro Nick. This guy is all right. Kit should stay with him. He's a moral, upstanding person.
Yeah.
Let's do thumbs down if we think no,
Red
I
flag.
don't trust him. I don't like him. I'm really interested in this actually. Oh, hang on. We've got raised
Ambivalence. I'm seeing
ambivalent.
ambivalence. Up, down, up, down. Oh, there's quite a few thumbs up. Oh, now we're getting, yeah, we're getting some thumbs down. Oh, la. Oh, right.
Undecided Nicole. I love Nick. Yeah, I like Nick. I thought he was all right at the end.
Ah,
He seemed
I'm
like he
getting
just
thumbs down. Like I said, I wanted to make him a lot goofier and a lot cornier to begin with, and I kind of loved him for that. But my editors did encourage me to tone it down. In the end, though, morally, he was ambiguous. I kind of agree that
I like that Kid is not flawless either. I think that's really interesting.
yeah,
Can
yeah.
I ask the chat? This is, I think, a really interesting question too. Can I ask for those of you who thumbs down, did you thumbs down because of the manslaughter, or did you thumbs down because of the way he treated his wife that one time
Mm,
earlier on? Which was the thumbs down? Because I think I didn't like him more for the way he spoke about his wife than for the self-defense. Look at that.
yeah. The
Isn't
wife.
that
Ooh
interesting?
la, yeah. Yeah. Well, that was a moment where you were meant to go, "Oh, is he
Yeah, and
bad?"
I did, and
Yeah,
everyone
and so
did.
so that had that effect, and it stayed with you. Interesting.
It
Yeah.
stayed with everybody. But see, there
Yeah.
was a bit at the end of the novel where you said that he sort of blacked that out and he wasn't quite himself there. That's the way I remembered that.
I
So
think
he sort of got away with that a little bit, but people
he had a
weren't as
traumatic brain
forgiving.
injury, guys. Come on. He's allowed to call a bitch. I actually wanted to use the C word. I used the C word in the first
Oh,
draft.
imagine if you'd done
And it was
that.
too strong. If I'd done that, nobody would have liked it. It would have
No,
been
there'd
all
be
thumbs
a sea
down.
of a sea of
Yeah.
thumbs
It
down.
got taken out. But I like what Randy said further up, where he was saying when Tess Garrison says she shies away from a character's likability, she looks interesting and intriguing. And I think in the
Mm.
end, that's what my editors were going for. Let's make him like we can't work him out to begin with. And that's where the goofiness and the corniness was kind of taken out of his character. I pictured him more like Jason Segel, in How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, wow.
And he ended up being more kind of, I
You
don't
know what?
know,
I can see the
maybe Kurt
Jason
Russell.
Segel.
Yeah.
He's a bit dark. He's like Jason Segel from that movie where he plays David Foster Wallace more than the other one.
Right. A dark Jason Segel. Yeah.
Yeah, dark Jason Segel. I can see that actually. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, I'm with Tara. Like I think books. If I get a super, I think Superman is boring. I'm sorry. Superman is boring. He has no flaws except for one flaw that then Lex Luthor all of a sudden exploits, and then he doesn't. He's perfect, and he's so boring. I'm sorry. I like characters that are. I like Batman. I like Batman. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm pro Batman. Um, because of the struggles. I just think it makes for much more interesting characters. But again, we're getting into questions of taste, right? And this is why books are so good because you can kind of have all these different tastes. Hang on. Agree that perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Amber.
Yeah, I
Nick.
liked Amber's remark there. And Amber further up said it was the wife, but just not trusting if he was telling the truth about anything that happened as well. So yeah, look, in the end, maybe he wasn't being completely honest. We don't know, do we? So maybe it's not a happy ending after all. And as someone else said, it felt like they might just go back and the relationship might fall apart. So who
Yeah.
knows?
And I guess
Yeah,
that's the great question though. And that's what I think a good book leaves you with is that sort of question about, and I think too, like you were saying, you were going for this thing of can we trust? How far can we trust a person? And how do we know we can trust a person?
yeah,
And there's all these different relationships and all these different people who think they can trust someone who, Elliot had all these obviously had all these good things about
yeah,
him. Otherwise, she wouldn't have
yeah,
married him.
yeah.
But then it turned like, how can you know? What is there such a thing as a red flag or a green flag?
Yeah. And the thing is, it's so important when you're choosing people to go down Antarctica with, because you're going to be stuck with them for so long. It's like lockdown. And as Rafe Fiennes says, I think I quote him in the book, you don't want to be stuck with people who turn malicious under pressure, who are sarcastic or keep challenging every decision. And you don't want people who
Mm,
are too Pollyanna-ish and too optimistic either, because when things go wrong, they're going to really crash. You want people who have this kind of calmness. And again, that's a stoic lesson.
mm.
You want people who have rational emotions. And yeah, so there were kind of lessons about that, but I kind of liked just throwing everyone together and seeing what happened
Yeah.
when everyone fell apart, when they couldn't have those rational emotions, because I thought that made for a better story.
Yeah, and that's you have that all with the way the station sort of falls apart at the seams with everyone's personalities and everything going wrong with the withdrawal from the
Mm,
drugs that the doctor
yeah.
was feeding them. Um, but you don't know that, and then where is it coming from? Was it yeah, man, it's a really fun book. I had a great time reading it. I was actually on the Barrier Reef on a holiday with my mum,
Ah,
actually. My mum. Um, so the
that's great.
setting
That's a
was
great location to read it. Yeah.
yeah, it was
Very
refreshing.
tasty. Yeah.
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 We only have a few minutes left, guys. So if you have any other questions for Riley, feel free to pop them into the chat box here. I'm sorry if I've missed some excellent ones. I'm sure I have. There was one question up here which I had for you later, but what's next for you? What's next for What's the next thing? What can we expect from
Well,
Riley?
well, I don't want to talk about it too much. I'm afraid to jinx it, but it will be another survivalist thriller. But this one's going to be set in a very hostile, unforgiving environment of northwest Tasmania. So I'll be going back to my roots. I
Yeah,
haven't lived there for
Northwest.
a while, but the Northwest is very gothic, as
Yes.
anyone who's been there can tell you. It's one of the poorest electorates in Australia. So there's a number of people living below the poverty line. It has a terrible, dark history of slaughter of the Indigenous peoples and
Mm,
homophobia.
mm.
You name it. It's a dark place, the Northwest Coast, but it also has some good things as well, as we know.
Yeah.
Um,
You like those shades, don't you? You like those things in between, good and bad stuff, right?
Yeah, sure. I got to tell you, I really like it when people lose their mobile phones too. So they're not going to have any mobile phones in this either. It's one of
Yeah.
the things I
Yeah,
liked about
you have to either set
Antarctica.
it in you have to set it in history or they lose their phone. Have you read
Or some kind of disaster. Yeah, something like
yeah.
that.
Have you
But
read
yeah,
The Roving Party by Rowan Wilson?
uh, say again, the roving party?
Yeah, The Roving Party.
No, I haven't read that.
It's
Sadly,
about
no.
John Batman set in Tasmania, but it's
Oh
about
yeah, yeah.
um really brutal, really awesome, really disturbing book. One of my favorites. Um yeah, this is a great one from Val. Do you have any advice for other aspiring fiction writers now that you have this beautiful book in your hands?
Well, I don't know. I don't feel that well qualified to give you too much advice, but because I'm mainly an academic and it's all very new to me. But I guess one thing that really worked for me was writing a book that I loved, and in the sense that it had all the elements that I wanted in it. I don't think you should worry too much about not knowing the landscape, so to speak, or don't worry too much about what you don't know. Just stick
Mm,
to writing a good story, I guess would be the thing. Because I can't
mm,
think of anything more boring than writing a book about academia. Like I could have said it in something I know about. I know about the university system, and I know what it's like. But gosh, that would have been boring to write that book. So I think sometimes being an outsider looking in at something can be a benefit because you see the romantic aspects of it, and you see the kind of fun and adventurous side of different
mm,
professions, different landscapes, different kind of scenarios that you would and what you would encounter. But the thing that remains the same, obviously, is what you know about human nature and how people behave. So I guess that would be my advice. Don't
yeah.
necessarily write about what you know best. Just write it for fun and enjoyment. That's what worked for
Yeah,
me. Yeah.
that's some great advice. Um, with my book, The Death of John Lacey,
Yeah.
that's set in 19th century Victoria.
Oh
I've had a
yeah.
lot of people comment on like the realism and how real it felt, but I actually started to think, I think it's about that the people who experience the setting feel real. It's not the
Yeah.
setting itself, it's like the
Yeah.
people. And hopefully, we're all people, right? So
Yeah.
hopefully you can describe people. So I wanted to return to something you mentioned earlier because Amber said this. She said in response to your next book, OMG, as a Tasmanian, very excited for this. I live in Hobart, but my partner was in Burnie for a year, so relatively familiar
Oh,
with the Northwest Coast. So sorry, I didn't say it. It does sound really cool. And I'm excited to read another sort of disaster thriller.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm from Burnie. I was born in Burnie and grew up there. So Burnie won't feature in it, but it'll be near Burnie. So it'll be a
Oh,
fictional place.
Nic-
Yeah.
Nicole, here, I think Nicole is from Tasmanian Libraries. That's and she says here, you'll have to come to Burnie Library or Devonport Library for a book chat when it's
I would
published.
love to. I grew
Yeah.
up going to Burnie Library every week. That's where I
Oh
got my
man.
Stephen Kings and all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
So yeah, I would
you
love to come to
gotta
the
make that
library.
happen. That's yeah. Fly me down to interview her too, Nicole. Thank you. uh, this is a really interesting one from Ian. Shout out Ian. Ian is the guy who moderates our Facebook group, and also shout out the Facebook group. If you're interested, just type in Ben's Book Club into Facebook, and you'll find our club. We do one of these every month. We always post and have chats. Ian moderates, and he's from the UK, and he's one of the most dedicated members. Um, So yeah, but Ian asks this: would either of you ever co-author a book? If so, who would you want to write with? Good question, Ian. Riley, is there anyone like a hero or anyone you'd like
Well,
to?
oh, a hero. I wasn't thinking of a hero. I was thinking more of like my one of my ideal readers, like one of
Okay,
my
yeah, go ahead.
oh no, like one of my dear best friends. I might write with her. Like in the same way that Nikki French, Nikki French is actually a couple, like a husband and wife, and one person writes one chapter and the next one goes. I mean, that would be super fun. Like to have the same authorial voice, same
Yeah,
ideas, and maybe a same rough cut of how the book was going to go. But then to hand a chapter to someone and say, there you go, off you go and do that.
I
It was so
I
fun. It
interviewed
would
I
be so
interviewed them when
exciting
they
to
came
see
to
all the plot
Australia.
twists.
They're
Yeah.
really, really
You
their
interviewed
process. I
them. Did you say you
Yeah,
interviewed
yeah. I
them?
think
No
yeah,
way.
at a library actually. Um, their process is one of the most interesting. It's
Yeah.
so fun because I writers never seem to have one thing. Like it's
Yeah.
always coming from some weird place, or
Yeah.
they'll be upside down as they write. I don't know. It's always something strange. And theirs is one of the most unique, I think, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So someone like
Um,
someone who had shared that same kind of mindset with, that would be great.
what about like an author who you really think would suit your style? Like I could see you writing something with Chris Hammer or something like that.
Oh, really? Yeah. Carl Perry. He's from Northwest Tasmania.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love
Carl
Kyle. I
Perry.
interviewed Kyle as well. Kyle's one of my best, well, he's one of my best author buddies. But I'll say it. I love
Yes.
Kyle. He's one of my friends.
Yeah, well, I think he's even from Burnie, so we could write a gothic thriller about Burnie, I'm sure.
Man. Shout out Kyle Perry, by the way. If you guys haven't read Kyle
Yeah.
Perry's books,
Bluff,
Tasmania,
the Bluffs, the Deep,
The Deep, yeah,
great.
and
They're great books. Yeah.
they're great books. I'm looking forward to his next one. I hope it comes out soonish. We should definitely have him on, if we can. We're about out of time here, everybody. We might have time for one or two more quick questions, but I want to leave a bit of time here for Riley to go back through and have a think about which were her favorite questions. Um, but I want to just very quickly mention a couple of things as she scrolls. To begin with, the next Ben's Book Club, which is the fourth Tuesday of every month, reading this one. The Community, and it says on the back, a murder, a disappearance, a sinister network. Sunshine Coast hinterland, so fairly remarkably different type of weather to the chilling. I like the book club programming. We go back and forth with setting, but so far really interesting. It's a thriller, but it's about fatherhood, family ties, and the way community works. Mary Rose Cascali as well, who we interviewed last month. Similar, different, really cool. I'll post that in the Facebook group at the end. Just another reminder too that we do have a sister program that sort of operates from the Western Australia. And that will be next month will be Andrew McDonald with the Montegiello School of Swearing, which I read about. It's a little bit sort of like Eat, Pray, Love, but with swearing is the pitch, which sounds kind of interesting. Um, but that is on May 21st. Sorry, yeah, 21st of May, and it's at 7:30 p.m. in Western Australia, but that makes it 9:30 Eastern Australia. But if you're hungry for more chats like this, it's another thing. It'll be on the Libby app. It's available for all to read. It's very similar to Ben's Book Club, just with a different time zone, essentially. But we want to support our Western Australia authors as well. Um, oh, and Kim. Okay, very cool. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Um, Amber said, I would love to see a Bernie thriller with detectives getting their morning coffee at the chapel. Let's right.
All that.
All right. So do you have an answer for the favorite one of the night?
Well, like reading through it, I must say there's lots of super great questions in here we didn't get a chance to discuss. The person wondering about Beatrice, why the knife, why what was going on with Beatrice, and I would love to have addressed that. I see other people brought that
Yeah,
up
I
as
mean,
well.
if you want to, Riley, we can spend a bit more time.
No, 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 no. No, I'm just pointing out. I love the questions here,
Oh,
and
okay.
I love the person who asked me about the Justice Lipsy's quote. Thank you so much for noticing my quote at the beginning. And yeah, there's some funny points. So I'm so glad that people engaged with it. But I guess for initiating discussion and people really engaging with Nick's character. I'm gonna go with Amber's question because it really it got people thinking, and it gave me some great feedback as well. So thank you.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations, Amber. Um, that's amazing. And yeah, from Tasmania as well, of course. So hometown heroes, right? So, yeah, we'll be sending you a copy of the book. Um, yeah, can you please send me an email from my website, which I'll type into the chat here. It's kind of the easiest way to find me. So you can go there and send me an email. If anyone has any questions for me or books they'd like to feature as well, feel free. But just send me an email through that site and I'll email you back. We'll get your address and send you that copy. But Riley, it's been awesome. You are absolutely a natural at doing this, writing and answering questions and being awesome in general. Um, so I just want to thank you again for the chilling. And I just want to say to everybody too, the way that debut Australian authors get their names out there is by us, word of mouth. And so talking about Ben's book club, had a great chat. Riley was awesome. And I'd love for you to read this, pass it on, get people reading it, get people interested. Because we want to read that next one. And then all of us meet up in Tasmania for the book launch. I love Tasmania. It's one
Me
of my
too.
favorites.
Shit.
All right. Well, that's all from us tonight. Yeah, thank you, Riley, again, and thanks
Well,
everyone for being such a positive experience. You make me smile every fourth Tuesday of each month. So hopefully I'll see you guys next month for the community. But other than that, see you all later, and thanks again. Bye.
thanks, Ben. Thanks, everyone. It was fun. Bye.
Bye.